Welcome to this presentation on the Introduction to Action Research by the International Journal of Managing Projects in Business. My name is Nathalie Drouin. I am the editor-in-chief of the journal, and I have the pleasure to be with my colleague Shankar Shankaran, who is also a member of the editorial advisory board. So what is action research? Action research is a flexible spiral process which allows action and research to be achieved at the same time. The understanding allows more informed change and at the same time informed by that change. People affected by the change are usually involved in the action research. This allows the understanding to be widely shared and the change be pursued with commitment. Action research is not a single methodology, but a way of working together to conduct a research. It is many approaches that involves working in collaboration with people, facing a common concern that needs action to address it. People working on action research project with you are co-researchers and not informants. It is, in fact, a process alternating between action and reflection upon action to initiate further action in order to improve the situation of concern. It is a democratic process. It brings together action and reflection, theory and practice. It values practical solutions, and it also values knowledge development to address a concern or many concerns. Since action research uses many different approaches, you may find that its epistemology and ontology may differ depending on the view of action research. But in general, its philosophical basis is related to Gestalt psychology, pragmatism, democracy. Its epistemology is connected to knowing through doing and applying discoveries. With regard to ontology, it is basically states of reality are dynamic and changeable. And finally, the methodology, it is interactive cycles of problem defining, data collection, taking action or implementing a solution, followed by further testing. Traditional research methods may not suit many field settings because of the nature or the complexity of a research. Precisely worded research questions may mislead the researchers. Imprecise questions, on the opposite, can lead to imprecise answers. So there are times when the researchers start with fuzzy methods to answer fuzzy questions. Action research has the flexibility to allow the fuzzy starts to converge towards appropriate endings.
Action research is a cyclical process. It goes through action and reflection. So you have a research question, you do field work to collect data, you analyze the data, you reflect, and you plan for new actions. There are specific steps to conduct action research. You establish a contract because you are going to intervene in a situation. If it's academic research, you get ethics clearance. You have to work closely with your stakeholders because some will appear at the start and some will add on as the research progresses. As action research requires change in understanding, you will have to think about what will your stakeholders do. Will they support your process or provide information? Once they are identified, you have to start building a relationship with them to sustain their commitment. And you may have to do some initial investigation to say what's your relationship level with the stakeholders so that you can improve it. There are several ways in which data collection can be used in action research. You can either use action research as a way of thinking as a meta-methodology, or you can use conventional methods like interviewing, large group interventions, focus groups, surveys, project evaluation exercises, even soft system methodology, and journal writing. So it could be a mixture of quantitative and qualitative methods. The data analysis method should be appropriate for the way you collect the data. For example, if you use interviews, you may have to use content analysis, grounded theory, you use thematic analysis, surveys, you use statistical method. It's important to get the core researchers involved in the data analysis because their insights are also important in your research. In terms of validity, reliability, and rigor, you can use the qualitative measures of validity and reliability like trustworthiness and authenticity, or you can use what is called rigor. You can collect data in one way and data in another way. You can look for agreement and then seek exceptions, or you look for disagreement and that seek for explanation. That gives you a better understanding and leads to better action. So you have to be skeptical when you do analysis of data. Sometimes action researchers use quality criteria because the process is very important. How does the AR reflect cooperation between the researcher and the client or the co-researchers? Is there a constant iterative reflection? Does it produce practical, propositional, and experiential knowledge? Does it result in sustainable change? All these become important in quality criteria. And action research, because it's a creative and innovative process and very personal, people use unconventional methods of reporting research, which becomes sometimes a problem with journals. People often use first person, and according to Judy Marshall, a famous action researcher, you have to express what you're doing. You have to make it clear. You have to employ disciplines that respect emergence. You have to invoke the writer in you and do it in a direct voice and follow the shape it takes. Create resonant processes. You have to claim authority, and also you can use metaphors, pictures, and other forms of media. There's also criticism about action research because people say the researchers involved, the lack of impartiality, it lacks rigor. Researchers may get engrossed in the immediate effect, forget about the academic rigor. Some people say it's consulting, not really research, not context-free, it cannot be generalized. And there are many schools of action research, therefore people often question, is this a methodology? Let's now look at an example of how an action research can be set up as two cycles of action research. One is addressing the problem, and the other is how to write up about the research. An example of how you can set up action research, let's say that a small medium enterprise wants to bid for a development project in an international situation. You may think about setting up several core action research projects which go through a plan, act, observe, reflect, cycle. And then that could be your thematic concern. The thematic concern will be, how do we tender for a development aid project? And then when you reflect, you collect data, you do the analysis, you then contribute to knowledge. So if you're writing up a report or thesis, you can consider the thesis writing itself as an action research process. There's what is called the link between the core action research project to collect data and the thesis action research project for reporting.
So what are our main conclusions? So what makes good action research? You have to be responsive to the evidence and not being blinded by theories. You also have to use evidence critically and using multiple sources of evidence. Carrying forward to later cycles only what is relevant and constantly critiquing what you do and how you do it in order to improve your processes. Recently, Shankar and his colleagues published a special issue on the use of action research in project management, and they found that project management researchers use different methods to carry out action research. For example, they use co-production, engaged scholarship. So if you want to learn more about these methods, please have a look at the journal's website. Finally, action research could be recognized as a rigorous methodology that can address both your work problems and the more academic concerns of a research publication. It can generate both management and research outcomes. So, thank you very much for your time and for listening to us. If you want to learn more about action research, you can visit our journal website where you will find different papers and special issues on the topic. Thank you.